Hello! Hey guys, it's me, the head. That's an old joke. That's from Art Attack. Never mind. No one's going to understand that now, and I'm going to look insane. That's the way to start the live chat.
We're starting off strong.
starting off where we always start off, with insanity. Right. So it's me, Joey Morris. She, Cris Ashburn. The best mug in the galaxy. Lift the mug. Lift the mug. Lift.
The Punisher.
So good. Hey guys. Hey everybody. Welcome to probably 2-hour live chat.
Yeah.
All about imposter syndrome in spirituality. So we're going to be a bit deeper today. I realized the last one was a bit silly, but I think that kind of balances, because the last one was a bit silly and this one's a bit deeper and, you know, balance and all. So hi to everybody in the chat. How's everybody?
I actually feel like it's been a little bit since we've done like a deeper fluxy sort of topic. Because I mean, before the last one with the spooky box, we were talking about protection, which is still more of a tactile approach to things. So, yes.
Not that we can't go deep with protection magic, but yeah, this is our jam right here, where we're like, right.
Yeah.
Death. Underworld. Fear. Facing the shadow. Yes. Oh, well, this will be up on the video will be up on my channel when we're done. Don't worry. So you can catch it on the rewind. It's just about interacting when it's live, really. So if you have any questions. Okay. So hello to everybody. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
And hi to Chris.
Hi.
A fuck ton of protection magic.
A ton.
Slightly more than a ton and slightly less than a fucking ton. Anyway, so
Imposter syndrome.
Jake, Joey, I must say sorry because the last live stream I felt I came off as rude when I was trying to be funny. Please accept my apology. You didn't come off as rude, dude.
Oh, because he told me to leave because I hadn't seen American Horror Story.
You didn't come off as rude.
Know what you were saying at first.
Oh, dude,
I'm like, half mine now.
No, you didn't come off as rude. I mean, I can accept your apology if you like, but I wasn't offended. You're fine. If I was offended, you would have seen my face move because I'm so expressive that I can't hide it. If I was really offended, I'd have been like,
bad at hiding things. I can confirm that.
Mm-hmm. She can. My ability to hide things is not great. Okay. So let's earth sign it in. Earth sign it in. Bring it in. Come sit down with us. Don't know what this hand motion is, but it's happening.
This is bringing it in.
Bringing it in. It feels like touching my boobs, though, to be honest with you. And we're going to get all that kind of comment.
Just bring it this way. Yeah.
Bring it to the heaviest spot in my body, which is there. Right. Anyway. Chat is just silent in horror. Like, what did she just say?
What? All right.
Oh, good luck with your exam, Gothic. Right. So we're talking about imposter syndrome. So do you want to lay out what imposter syndrome is, or?
So imposter syndrome is basically the feeling that you are going to be exposed as being fake. Like to say it really quickly and like succinct, that is what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm. Even when you're deserving of where you are.
Right. Like it's basically, a lot of times it manifests as someone who just is constantly looking for that enough bar because they're like fighting to get to it and they never hit it because a lot of times with people who have imposter syndrome, they were brought up with sort of a parent or an authority figure that was very overly critical. Mm-hmm. And so that voice kind of manifests in their head as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they grow up to be both in that scenario. So like they are the child trying to satisfy and they are the parent or the inner critic saying, well, you might have made it this time, but wait until next time. They'll see.
Yeah, it's putting yourself in It's putting staying true and staying awesome is your catchphrase. It's not a simple solution. Oh, it's beyond. Anyway, so imposter syndrome is basically because this is something that I suffer with, okay? Because I grew up in a not very pleasant environment, which everybody's probably aware by now. And this is my mother in a nutshell. What did you get on the test today? If it was a B, it wasn't good enough. If it was an A, who else got an A? If you got an A, what percent was it? Who else got that percent? Who else got the higher percent? Did someone else get the higher percent? Then it wasn't good enough. Did you get the highest percent? Oh, that'll do, I suppose. Yeah. Verbatim. And I was reading around this subject in sort of prep for this, because me and Cris do prep for our videos. It's not just all crazy.
Hashtag earth signs.
Hashtag prepared, yeah. And I was reading that it happens more to women than it does to men. And I was like, well, I'm not sure that that's entirely fair, but I can see the way like society is structured a bit, making women feel like they don't deserve to be there because they feel that they have to justify their gender in terms of what role they're doing. So, for example, I know women who have lost out on a job, a high-powered job, because at some point they might have children. And it doesn't matter whether they're going to have children or not. It's just brought up in the interview process. And I've heard women who've had this, and that's kind of like, so women who are in high power jobs, they feel like they're constantly needing to justify, and it might be from an internal place as well as an external place. So unfortunately, we've kind of got things happen in culture and society that reinforces imposter syndrome as well. So it kind of comes from a place of conditioning, and it continues if we don't sort of tackle it head on. And it's kind of one of the reasons we do these sorts of videos, is to be like, we need to talk about this, people. We need to.
And it definitely manifests in spirituality as well. But I will go back and say, like, I think that men get it too. I don't know how I feel about it being more or the other. I also, for one, I think it's not a fucking competition.
Well, no.
It just shouldn't be a thing, but it is. But I mean, you also have to think of like men and being told they're not manly enough and having to live up to that stereotype as well.
Yeah.
So there's still, I mean, women aren't expected to have voices essentially, but there's still an expectation placed by society.
I agree. So I just wanted to bring up that I had been reading around it, and that is something that had been brought up. Because I agree. I think it happens to people regardless. I think in some ways it might be slightly easier for women to talk about it because it comes from an emotional place. And guys are, and guys are encouraged to hide their emotions.
Shut that emotional thing down. Yeah.
So when we're talking about imposter syndrome, it's very much that initially on a spiritual basis, because we're going to try and tie it into spirituality a bit, because that's what we talk about here, rather than focusing solely on a psychological perspective, which we could probably.
We could.
But let's try and tie it into a spiritual sense.
I think they merge a lot anyway.
Because it's to do with sense of self. It's to do with empowerment, self-empowerment, how you feel and how you view yourself, and kind of what you feel on the inside is what you're projecting on the outside on many different levels. So if you feel like you are undeserving of anything good happening to you, you're kind of putting roadblocks in the way of your own success. You're putting rocks in the way of your own magic, your own elevation, because you are on some level believing, for whatever reason, and it's nothing to do with blaming, because I deal with this myself, that things are going to go wrong because they always go wrong, even though they don't always go wrong. You just think they're going to always go wrong, and or you don't deserve this. That is such a problem with me all the time, that I'm like, this might be the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Do I deserve this? And
it's the sensation of waiting for the bottom to fall out.
Exactly. The shoe. Yeah. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop, because you've been told your entire life that you don't deserve happiness, you don't deserve to be treated right, you don't deserve love, you don't deserve success, you don't deserve whatever. And so you get into that mindset of expecting, and it happened to me.
It's really a bit of gaslighting in there, isn't it?
There is. But it happened to me that the way it manifested with me is the minute I felt true happiness, I would automatically feel terrified, because then I felt like the minute I allowed myself to be happy, something terrible would happen. And this is kind of what happened in my family upbringing. The minute I showed joy, something terrible would happen. Like, that's the upbringing I had. And so that kind of reinforced that imposter syndrome. Mine goes beyond just imposter syndrome for obvious, well, I guess most people here will know, but my upbringing was abusive. So my mother was physically, emotionally, and mentally and verbally violent. So if I was showed happiness for a second, bad things would follow. So that's what imposter syndrome looked like for me. And we will move on. We will move on to how I have elevated past it and people who have helped me with that in a minute. I know people in the chat are very concerned at the minute. Okay, we'll start with how it looked like, and then we'll move on to how we get past it.
Yeah.
How about you, Cris?
Well, for me, I think it manifests. Well, it manifested in my job for a long time. That's actually why I stayed in a job that I fucking hated for 8 years. Moving my way up the ladder only to realize this is not at all what I wanted. Because I threw myself into work, because that was some sort of approval seeking. It was well, if I do this, will I be enough? Or if I am always the hero, essentially, for them, then maybe one day I'll be accepted. And there was a point where, my dad died and all that stuff that I've gone through. I got pneumonia, all kinds of things. And I didn't have the energy. And then I realized I didn't have the energy, not because of all the stuff that had happened, but because of what I was doing to myself. And they got a really big middle finger in a lot of ways. I had to work through the resentment afterwards. But that was one of the ways. And then another way is I stopped creating. Because anytime, you were happy, you were smacked down or you were rejected in some way, right? So you stop putting yourself out there because you expect to be smacked down.
My creativity was torn down by my mother as well. So my mother was creative in terms of she was good with textiles, like sewing and stitching and all that side of things. And I can't do any of that. I've never been able to do any of that, and I don't care for it anyway, which is kind of dual-sided, because some of it is I don't care for that because it was her thing. I didn't want anything to do with her thing. I didn't want the pressure of that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is I was just no good at it. I can't knit. I can barely sew. I'm not I'm not down with the material. But the way that I now express myself is pure creativity. But for years, she was like, no, you're not creative, because you can't do this. And I couldn't paint, or I can paint okay, I can draw okay, but it's not like stellar, incredible artwork or anything. And things in here don't look like what they come out on the page at all. Yeah. So for a long time, I was like, I'm not creative, which was ridiculous, because I've always been a poet, and I've always written stories as long as I can remember. But
I think that notion in itself is flawed too. I mean, obviously because of what you've gone through, but I think everyone has an element of creativity. I mean,
absolutely,
we are creation and destruction in a body.
In flux. We're always creating.
So everyone has creations that they can make.
Yeah.
They just kind of got to find their thing.
Yeah. They've got to find their way of expression. And this is the problem with imposter syndrome and the kind of gaslighting that goes with it, is it's trying to stop expression. It's trying to stop truth. It's other people who are basically breaking down others in order to I don't really know why other people do it. It doesn't fully make huge amount of sense.
Others.
Yeah, it must just be a control thing and then there are multiple reasons behind control.
Well, it's to try and elevate yourself. It's a sort of I guess you could say a power struggle.
Mm.
You know, because the fact is that they probably also feel really insecure, and so they feel they need to dominate everything, so that they feel they have some sense of, well, if you're going to reject me, then at least I have control of the tower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've talked about stop seeking approval from others on the channel before.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit different from imposter syndrome, because imposter syndrome becomes entrenched in your own mind, and it's a learned behavior for the most part. There may be elements of self-esteem that come from other places, but it's a learned behavior because it's very much a fear-based response to individuality, to personal expression, to soul, in a way. Like it's being so afraid of who you are, and this ties in a little bit to when me and Cris talked about being other. It's so being afraid of being other than other people, weird or different, that you can't connect to other people, that you then like hide away who you are, or you
almost make yourself the outsider.
Yeah, you make yourself small for other people's comfort. It's like you're putting yourself in this tiny, tiny, tiny little box so other people will understand you and like you and hold your hand. And rather than being who you are, who is expansive and exciting and weird and creative and all these amazing things about who you are as a person, we make ourselves small, thinking that that's what other people want. And I've said before, and I'll say again, the people who will truly love you want you to be that kind of weird, because they are looking for that kind of weird in other people, because they feel it in themselves, and they're like, where are my people? Where are my tribe? And this had been a big lesson for me this year with connecting with tribe and a few women who are like home for me, and one guy. And it's been about coming home, and it's been about expressing myself and being okay with myself, and realizing there are other women out there who are not the same, because we're not the same. We're not all the same. We're never going to all be the same, but we can connect in a way that is honest and true. I don't know what Cris is doing. She's researching or tapping something in. What are you doing?
I was gonna answer Mary in the chat, but I'll just say it again. Okay. I was gonna say that, yeah, we already talked about what imposter syndrome is, but basically it's when you are extremely critical of yourself and you feel like a fraud and a fake all the time, and when you do succeed at something, you are unable to accept that success. It's
like when you say, "Oh, I was lucky."
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than owning how hard you worked.
Yeah. Like, or like, yeah, you might have gotten away with it this time, but next time you're not going to be able to pull that off.
That kind of self mentality. Yeah.
So something I wanted to say too, because we talked about the others thing, and I am reading this book called Mother Night by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She did Women Who Run with the Wolves, and it's freaking amazing. And she said something in that I want to say really quick, even though this isn't directly in reference to our topic. But it was so brilliant that I was like, yes. And she said that people who are like that, we don't live on the outskirts, we live on the frontier. Things grow from the edges.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a quote by Sharon.
That's freaking brilliant. Yes.
Let me find this quote by Sharon Blackie, because she wrote about life on the edges, and I shared that as well. Oh, come on, where are you? Oh, is that it? Hang on. Sorry, this is so professional, but I want this quote. I'm probably not going to be able to find it. Hang on. I might have found it. Well, that's not quite what I was looking for, but I will read you this poem by Sharon Blackie, because she talks about living on the edge, an edge dwelling. And she talks about this a lot. And in her book, When Women Rose Rooted, it's very much about empowerment and kind of throwing away the chains that bind us and stop us from being who we are. So, O mother of the sea, lend me a wave which is strong and true to carry me from this age which unbinds me. I do not need a ship, mother, but make it buoyant swell to bear me up and float me on the seas dreaming, then beach me on some lighter shore. When I stand there, mother, give me warp and weft again and an urchin quill to remind me how the prettiest barb can lodge under your skin and leave you undone. Only lend me a loom, and I will take up the threads of this unraveled life. I will weave a braid from 3 strands of seaweed. I will wind it 3 times around my finger. I will dig my salt-encrusted hands into the soil and wed myself to the thirsty brown roots of a new beginning. So that's a little bit of a sidestep, but it's very much about edge living and about taking charge of one's destiny, which ultimately is the driving force behind spiritually overcoming imposter syndrome and things like it. And I kind of rushed the presentation of the poetry. I'm apologizing. It's not my best poetic thing, but I was like, I need to get this out there.
I love Sharon Blackie. I haven't read the book yet, but anything she shares,
Sharon
that comes from her.
Blackie. Sharon Blackie, Black IE, and she wrote the Women Who
Rose
Rooted. My brain's not in the best place today, so yeah. We're lucky I'm making sense at all.
But Mother Night is about that very similar topic. It's also about not crushing your creativity and stuff as well. And believing in oneself, even though like there is this side to society that's like, oh, well, this isn't important.
Oh, I love the Mimi quote that's like, in life, life will tell you this is important, this is important, this is important,
yes.
This is important. And it's your job to take your hand and put it on your heart and go, no, this is important.
This is important. I love that one.
The thing is about, I'm going to say in response to her, Dawn said, some people don't like you living your truth. Oh, some people don't like you living your truth because they can't.
We're like all mugging it up today.
We're like mugging it up.
Yeah.
Mugging it up. So what I will say about other people living in their truth is the problem is we're encouraged in these situations to look outwards at what other people are doing, even in spiritual realms. And I really, and some more fucking really hate this whole, oh, well, if someone's toxic in your life, just cut them. And I'm like, okay. And it's kind of this whole justification of getting rid of people. Now, if somebody is really doing you damage in your life, then yes, stepping away from them might be the best thing you can do, creating a space, or at least creating personal borders and boundaries. Yes, it might be the healthy thing to do, but it's not something to be just done lightly, like other people don't matter. Like,
yeah,
oh, well, we're spiritual beings, so it's time to cut the toxic. And it's like, is that person your friend? Is that person going through something? Is that person in a place of pain right now? Is this usual behavior? If it's a pattern of behavior and you're getting like, you've had enough and it's driving you crazy, then put a barrier up. It doesn't necessarily mean cutting them right out, but put a barrier up, see how it goes.
Yeah.
But the whole like devalue somebody to the point where they're not giving you exactly what you want from them is kind of like imposter syndrome on the other end. Like you're telling someone what they owe you. This eyebrow face.
You've gotten the Joey eyebrows.
The Joey brow.
No, I like what Ashburn said. Too many people focus on what everyone else is doing and not enough on what they themselves are doing.
Exactly. We can only truly know and truly be responsible for ourselves. We can.
And sorry, go ahead.
Okay, go.
Finish your thought.
I don't know now.
All right. Well, I was going to say to respond to Dawn saying some people don't like you living your truth because then they have to. No, you don't just like cut people out, but you also can have what is called like courageous conversations with them, where it's like, look, this is what I'm doing. I have weighed the pros and cons. It is my life, and you can choose to support me or not. And that will have, that will be like a cause and effect thing. If you do this, then it's going to make this. And that's just how this is. That doesn't mean I'm going to cut you out entirely, but it does mean, look, if every time I talk to you, you're going to insist on preaching to me that I don't do this, when you know that I have taken it into consideration and it is very important to me, that tells me that you are more worried about your own fear than you are my happiness.
Yeah. This has happened to me and people I know, in that people advise people with bad advice, such as, and this is, take this from my personal experience, stay in a bad relationship because, you know, whatever reason. And it's like, why would you ever advise somebody to stay in something that's killing them? Like,
yeah.
Why? They probably, and worse, what if it took every ounce of strength that person had to reach out to somebody because they were terrified of reaching out to somebody? They were terrified of what it meant. They were terrified to admit that everything had gone down the drain, and they reached out to someone, and the first person they reached out to slapped them in the face and was like, put up with it.
Yeah.
I did finally have to let a friend go when she didn't respect that boundary. I've had multiple panic attacks and they clustered around her visits. I couldn't let that happen anymore. I'm not ever saying that if you need to let someone go, you can't, because I cut my entire, well, apart from my middle sister, I cut my entire family out, like my blood. Right. And
I cut a lot of my siblings out.
And it's because they did not change. They would not change. They will not change. They still have not changed. And it's not good.
In my case, I always say it like this. Sometimes people don't know how to love in a healthy way. And because of that, they are unhealthy for me. Like, and there's different degrees of that, and different people have different situations. But with mine, it was a matter of like, look, if all you can think of is your world, then how is this a relationship?
It's not a two-way street. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nobody's responsibility to bleed themselves dry for anyone else. Like, there should always be a balance within relationships.
That ties back into the imposter thing.
Exactly.
Because you will bleed yourself dry for that. That actually was one of the stories in the Mother Night book. She was talking about the Earl King. I don't know if you're familiar with that like old fairy tale. But the Earl King is basically someone who takes children in the night. And so there was this father riding with his son on a horse, and the kid could see the Earl King in the mist. But the father was like, no, you're fine. Like, you're making things up. Don't worry about it. And then the horse knew, the horse felt it as he got closer. And so the horse started booking it. Even though the father was like, no. And the kid is like, Papa, he's coming. Okay, so they finally get out of the mist. And he's like, the father is like, oh, okay, we're safe. And he looks down and the boy is dead. And the horse is like just exhausted. And in this, it represented the boy was like the instincts. And the horse was the psyche that wanted to back that up. Like, that just felt and knew to run. But then it led into her talking about the fact that like you have to be careful with horses because they can be so devoted to you as a person that they will literally run themselves until their heart stops.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like that reminds me of that syndrome as well, because you're like, it's enough. And it's like, no, it's not. You're making things up. Don't worry about it. And you will run your soul to death.
Exactly. And in healthy relationships, any relationships, doesn't matter what kind of relationships, people want to build each other up.
Yeah.
And I've had to step back from relationships with, all relationships with people who just want to take. And my family was run like a business. If you weren't contributing to their agenda, you weren't good enough. So now anybody who treats me like that, I'm like, I can't deal with it, and I won't deal with it. I'm not going to bleed myself dry for people that are taking advantage. And I don't mind helping other people out at all. I'm a Virgo.
You're like one of the most generous people that I know.
And yeah, I'm a Virgo, you know, we live to serve.
Yeah. Quite literally.
We live to serve you, sir. Anyway, waiting for chat now. But if you start taking advantage of that, boundary. And was it Jake mentioned you can do invisibility spells if rather than cutting spells? Well, the thing is about behaviors, particularly with people, you have to make a choice whether to do spell work or whether to do like mundane work. And I would say in interpersonal relationships, the polite and responsible and perhaps moral and ethical thing to do is to have a conversation first.
Yeah.
Because you're not allowing a person to realize what's going on, or at least acknowledge it, or at least realize, oh my God, I've done something awful and I'm sorry. And it's a possibility. Well, not always.
Like, you're not giving them the chance to grow in that way.
Yeah.
But also, there's an element of fear in it with you, because where are you running? If
why
you run,
are you hiding?
It'll follow. Yeah.
I wonder if hiding and the invisibility spells is counterintuitive towards imposter syndrome, because might that feed imposter syndrome? Because like, if imposter syndrome is hiding who you truly are, and you're hiding who you truly are, and you don't feel like you're good enough, and you're always apologizing for who you are, then perhaps using spell work to amplify hiding who you are might not help you in terms of overcoming.
Right. Well, another thing, so imposter syndrome, one of the things that I heard about this that like blew my mind was, and I don't remember if it was Joanna DeVoe that said this. I don't remember. It was a while back. It was a conversation I was having. And I was dealing with my business, like not wanting to be fake, like wanting to be me. And like the whole idea of like what professional looks like and all of this bullshit. And I'm over that, obviously, because I just cussed. And she said, you know what's interesting is I find that a lot of times the reason that we feel fake is because we're actually not being true to ourselves. Is in worrying about being authentic, we're not just living our truth fully. And so what our soul is basically trying to tell us is like, just be you. You're already that. Like, just stop worrying and just be you, and live out loud and fully embrace that. And so we're worried about not being enough and like being perceived as a fake or feeling like a fake. But what it actually is yeah, exactly. Stay true and stay awesome. That's what it boils down to.
So the one way I think that I can bring something up, which this I still deal with, is every time there's well, not every time, but quite often when there's a big tragic event in the world, I struggle with whether or not to make a video. Because part of me wants to make a video and reach out to people. And so for the shootings in the LGBT community, I made a video, and it was crystals in all the LGBT flag colors to look like the LGBT flag, and it was just like love is the only way, and there was candles and those things. And I did that for the Dakota pipe access line for their fight, and so on and so forth. But every time I do that, part of me is like, am I going to get accused of capitalizing on pain, of being fake in order to? And I know in my heart where this comes from. Like, I want to reach out and be like, I know that I can't be there for whatever reason, like different country or whatever, but I'm here and I feel you, and I'm there with you as much as I can be. And this is something I can do. And every time I do one of those videos, I don't monetize them, because that's kind of like my sort of middle ground. Like, I'm not making money off this. Right. So
there are some videos that I don't monetize either because of reasons like that. Be who you are, unless you can be Beyonce.
I was born on the same day as Beyonce, so we're practically twinsies.
I was not. No part of me is a Beyonce twin.
I'm waiting for booty comments. I'm just
yeah.
She's got that ass like Beyonce. What? No one. All right, fine. Fine.
We haven't had one balls comment. In
Not
this
one
entire
balls, not one boobs.
No, be you, unless you can be Ashburn Torval. I can't be Ashburn Torval.
Only
I don't even
Ashburn
have the shades. Like, I need the sunglasses too.
And that's actually, it actually leads, and we're joking, but it actually leads into a really interesting point that I feel like people are always looking outside of themselves for persona and like who they ought to be and who they should be. And if you've been with me any length of time.
And that comes into spell work a lot.
But if you've been with me any length of time, you know that people taking, people stealing from me or from others drives me crazy. And the reason that really, I said last week or this week, I was like, elevation, not imitation. Come on now, because you are. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, balls. Yes,
we have a balls.
I have a
and boobs. Every type boobs. Yay.
Oh, okay. I have a ball in progress. Ball in progress. There you go.
Progress.
It's a half form ball. No, right, okay. Where was I? Right, elevation, not imitation.
Yes.
Because you're not only taking from somebody else's spirituality, which is invasive as fuck,
but you're also not living in your own.
Exactly. Think of what you could achieve if you were living in your truth. You are cutting your legs off to follow crawl about after someone else and take a little bit of their pie, when if you just blossomed, if you took that shit castle and blossomed instead, you would be a big shining flower of gloriousness, all of your own. All of your own. You're robbing the world of you.
Exactly. And yourself of you. Like
balls. I
was just sitting here thinking about like how the frontier comment that I made earlier and how everything grows from the edge, and thinking like, okay, so these are people that perhaps are afraid to live on the outskirts. They're afraid to fully live on the edge, but they want to be that, and they have the capability of being that.
I was talking about plagiarism, Bohemian. Yes, I was talking about plagiarism. Yep.
Yes.
So living on the edge. Quick, get Aerosmith out. Get the Aerosmith out. Living on the edge. Living on the edge is the only way that witches could live, because witchcraft is okay. This is awful, but this is an awful way to express it. But witchcraft is edgy.
That's awful.
I know. But it's not edgy, like it's kind of a word pun, which Chris should at least appreciate that part of it, because it's edgy in that witches are fringe as a society. We are living on the edges between
as a certain magpie
worlds.
Would say, we live in the hedge.
Living in the hedge. Oh my god, we could rewrite the song. But those in between spaces, those edges are so important. Spirit communication, the edge of who you are, delving into the shadow and the light, but realizing that they're not separate.
In psychology, a lot of people call it being a medial person, so being in the middle, a medium, seeing both sides. And I think that's essentially what we're doing, is we're seeing like our physical side, and we're seeing the other realms or the other sides to things. The unseen.
Sorry, I just read what Gothic wrote.
Living on the hedge.
No, Joey's balls are about to drop on her website.
On her website, yes.
Sorry, we're being serious, and then I looked over.
I mean, we did ask for balls and boobs, and now the whole chat.
I did. I perved the chat out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't remember what I was saying now, so.
We're talking about being edgy, and you were talking about mediumship, being in the middle.
Oh yeah, being the medial person is what they call it.
And the ear, listening and speaking.
Yes. Being able to see both sides. And if you're going to bend reality, I say loosely, then you need to be able to see that.
And that's true with magic as well. When you're thinking about
that's what
bending, I mean. Okay. Oh, sorry. I was like, I thought you meant.
That's where I'm going. Yeah, I'm trying to take it like towards
spirituality
stuff now.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking about psychology stuff and personality stuff, but let's like work it into magic.
Let's look into magic.
Looking in the
Joey
magic.
is the edgelord. Joey is the edgelord. That's my God, name. Yes. Joey is the edgelord.
The edgelord. Now I've just got Edge Crusher in my head.
Anyway. There's a boob thing in there somewhere, like Edge Crusher. Yeah. Okay. Magic. Magic. Bring it down. Bring it up. Elevate to the side. I don't know what I'm doing. Right?
Are we doing like a fucking dance now? Is this?
Yeah.
Like a flux dance?
I had a new friend ask me what type of witch.
Everybody yelled dos. No.
Dos. I answered hedge witch because weird psychic witch that lives in other realms might have scared her a little. You should have answered weird psychic witch that lives in other realms. You see what we do? We make ourselves small. You should have said you're a weird psychic witch that lives in the hedge and sees into other realms. I'm gonna start calling myself a crazy little death witch or something, and just if people ask me that question. I'm a flux riding, edge hopping death witch.
You're the fluxlings.
I'm a fluxling. What are you?
Yes. I'm a fluxling too. You don't get to have it only. I want that as well. No, I'm me. Like, as a matter of fact, when I got asked that on one of the tags where it was like, what kind of witch are you? I was like, I'm a Cris witch.
I'm me.
Like, I'm me? I don't know.
That's what I do. I'm like, I'm Joey.
And it's in constant change too. So like,
That's often what I say when people are like, what kind of witch are you? And I'm like, I'm Joey.
Yeah. But that is a thing. Like, you're afraid to just say a title as well.
There is that. Yeah.
Like, a lot of us, I mean, there are those that will claim a title and just to like have that title. But then there are a lot of us also that won't, out of fear of like some sort of like not being enough or disrespecting someone, even though this is not like logically the situation where that would happen. You know, but it's this fear of the rejection of not being enough. And I think it comes from us not saying things like, oh, because I'm a weird psychic witch that lives in other realms. You know what I mean? Like, just say what you are. You get to name it, not them.
Yeah. And ultimately, what does it matter anyway? Because names are falling short, really.
Words are slippery and thought is vicious. It doesn't really matter.
And they're not expressive of the whole truth anyway. They're powerful. Words are powerful. I love words. I'm a writer. I'm a voice witch. But they're not all-encompassing. No. Some things are beyond expression, which I found out very recently. There are now things that I have no words for, and it drives me crazy as a Virgo, I'm telling you. There are experiences that I have that I can't express to you what they felt like.
Like, the only thing to do with that is, like, to stay true to oneself.
One must stay true to oneself, yeah.
And awesome if you're Ashburn as well, apparently.
Ashburn's not talking to us anymore. I think it's because we stole his catchphrase.
Sorry, man. But yeah, no, the only thing to do right there is to honor your truth and what it is and believe that it is enough. And that's hard to do. And the only way to do it is to start coming out of like this bubble of fear every now and then and just like doing a little bit. And
also who you are evolves.
Yes.
Who you are changes and shifts.
Your craft even as a witch alone, your spirituality shifts and changes and you learn new things and you you incorporate stuff in different ways and
discover.
That's okay. That's good. If you were the same thing and you just had the answer, like it's not the finish line, it's the journey.
Yep.
Appreciate the journey.
Yep. Be brave and do the thing.
Yeah, everyone is so concerned with the finish line. Well, what are you now that you've made it?
What's making it anyway?
And what is making it when you have imposter syndrome? So essentially, you will never hit the finish line. You just keep moving the finish line on yourself. You are running a race that will never end.
And spirituality isn't a competition anyway. There are so many people out there who make spirituality into a contest over who is what and who has what.
I am
what it looks
the most
like.
this. I am the most that. I am the most real. I am the most knowledgeable. I am the most.
I am the expert.
Yes, and it's like it's really not needed. Like we're all teachers and we're all students, and
as long as you're expressing it your way of looking at the world, because that's the other side of this that drives me crazy, is like if you're expressing somebody else's opinions and you're regurgitating verbatim, then you're not expressing your spiritual truth, are you? You are regurgitating somebody else's, and that's just as irritating. And that kind of plays into imposter syndrome. Like, my thoughts aren't good enough, so I'll regurgitate somebody who I've decided is better than me.
And that's really like
destructive, self-destructive, actually.
It's self-destructive. It's also very sad to me. It really is, like, because that person doesn't believe themselves enough.
It's Mystic.
No, Mystic. It's cool. Just laugh at me. I understand.
I'm not laughing at you. Mystic was
I'll
like
just
Joey's the death
for your approval. Imposter syndrome.
Oh, I love your face. You know I love your face.
See, I'm an elder. My word is law. Yeah.
You must do something this way, because if you're not doing something this way, you're not actually connecting with that deity. That deity's not listening to you.
And I think that there's, like I said, it's in the journey. It's the exploration of it. It's the thinking, okay, well, what if I did it this way? What if I did, like, that's why, like, I am not a chaos witch, but chaos magic fascinates me because of the fact that that is founded on, okay, but what if?
This is why I talk about evolutionary witchcraft, because this is one of the things that I truly believe in, and it's not really talked about too many places. And this is the idea, my idea, that witchcraft and indeed deity evolve, and you can find elements, or you can find like reflections.
And such.
You can find reflections of deity in pop culture. You can find reflections of spirituality in pop culture. If you find some, like, a spiritual kernel of truth in something non-spiritual, like it's been written for, say, a storybook, it's been written for an anime, it's been written for a video game, whatever, and you find a kernel of truth that hits deep on a spiritual level, why should you ignore that because it came from a place that was unexpected? In fact, to me, the unexpected is the spiritual, because that's spirit talking to you from places where you weren't looking for it. So it's like a thump upside the head from when you weren't looking for it. So it is more spiritual.
It's
more spiritual.
To me, that's more like, I mean, that's another instance of the Earl King that I was talking about, where, like, the king in this situation would be that seed, that kernel of something that hits you at the right moment in something that is otherwise deemed mundane. And you are the child that knows somewhere in there, but you're also the adult going, no, there's nothing in the mist. You don't see anything there.
This is a really good point with spirituality. So I read somewhere, and I can't remember for the life of me where I read it, because it's a really good quote from somewhere. And I was like, you need to get on board with your madness, because technically witchcraft and spells and spirituality is believing things to the point of insanity.
Yes.
To the point where you've believed they've already happened, in order that the universe is like, okay, and falls into line, and these things happen synchronistically in terms of spell work and things. But to the outside viewer, that looks like madness, because you believe in something that doesn't exist yet, to the point of madness. So it's about getting on board with yourself and allowing yourself to go into, that's kind of like going into those edge places, like going beyond what is perceived as normal, going beyond what is perceived as acceptable. And there are people who will come at you and be like, you talk to your invisible friends, you're insane, blah, 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 and make fun of you. And you've got to, in terms of spirituality at least, find a good balance where you're not like, well, let me read you the doctrine of the witchcraft book of whatever, and I will convince you, because it's not up to you to convince them. But at the same time, you don't internalize what these people are saying on the outside of your spirituality and be like, well, maybe my spirituality is fake. Maybe I'm faking it. Maybe I'm a fraud. Maybe I'm not real. Because either you are or you're not. Either you believe it in your heart and soul, and you know this is your truth, Or if you don't believe it's your truth, then you need to evaluate and re-examine what you're doing.
Yeah. I just real quick want to say good luck to Gothic because they have a test. Good luck,
Gothic. Good luck.
And there's something else to that you were talking about that triggered, but I don't remember what it is now. So
Madness?
Instead,
no.
Oh, the madness. Yeah. Okay. So all the like brilliant people have embraced their madness. Look at freaking Einstein. People thought he was insane. You know, that's another instance of like the outskirts is the frontier. They are the creators. They are the innovators. They are the, you know, they find new territory to explore.
They say madness and genius is a fine line. I like to hop between the two.
Yeah. But also I was going to say that there's a big line between that anyway, that because I think the thing that I hear most often in my mentorship stuff that I do, and for those of you that don't know, I do spiritual mentoring, is the fear of being perceived as crazy.
Yeah.
And that ties in because you're thinking, oh, I'm a fake and I'm an imposter. This stuff isn't really happening.
Yeah. Or who am I to tell other people?
Right. And it's like, okay, well, define crazy. Oh, well, crazy to me is a lack of touch with reality. Okay, so what is reality to you? Oh, well, there's a lot of things that reality are to me. Okay, so if you create your own reality, how are you crazy?
And honestly, often madness and that sort of thing is used in terms of control anyway.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but I wanted to throw that in there too, because that's another correlation that I've seen that does tie in with imposter syndrome. But where was it? Invisible Sunbeams asked, I would love to hear your thoughts on spiritual FOMO, so fear of missing out, and imposter syndrome together. Are they linked in a way? What are your thoughts?
Fear of missing out and imposter syndrome.
I think so.
Yeah, I can see that because they kind of feed off one another, don't they? They're not the same thing, but I can kind of see them feeding off one another.
Yeah.
Because fear of missing out is kind of comparing yourself to other people and afraid that you're not doing things the right way and they have a better spiritual experience and they've got a deeper understanding of whatever. So you're afraid of you're missing out on something, that there's something missing from you, so you're not living up to their potential rather than acknowledging your own potential. And then imposter syndrome would be telling yourself that your experiences aren't real enough, aren't deep enough, and then you're kind of comparing them to the missing out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and like with the fear of missing out, you can't miss out on a chance to prove yourself. You have to always be that hero. So you can prove yourself. And if you miss out, then you'll never get it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's really important in terms of your spell work and stuff to, like you said, to embrace that madness. I really like that quote. I was never insane except upon occasions when my heart was touched. Edgar Allan Poe. I love Poe. That's a really good one. I think that with magic, like, it's such a personal thing. And it's so tailored to each person. You know what I mean? Like, all these books that have these correspondences, and we've talked about this in other videos, and all these books that have like pre-written spells and everything, like, I never do exactly what's in the book because it doesn't fit me. It doesn't suit me. I am not the person who wrote the book.
I'm even like that with cooking recipes, never mind spiritual stuff. Like, no, I want all the garlic, God damns it. All the garlic.
I support the all the garlic decision.
So the thing about like I've mentioned this before, but the thing about like pre-written spells and the correct way to do spells and things is that somebody's written that.
Yeah.
There's a person behind the book, and they are still a person who goes to the toilet and bathes and cries and screams and all the rest of it, the same as the rest of us.
But But they're a person who hasn't had your particular life experiences.
Exactly. So why is their word any more real to you than yours just because it's in printed form? And I understand that we live in a society that venerates books, and trust me, Joey loves
books are beneficial.
Joey loves some books.
Yeah.
Joey loves the sharing of knowledge, especially given in the West in particular. We have a free, pretty much, sharing, at least right now, fingers crossed, because the way the world is going, but still, we have a free sharing of religious information right now, pretty much. And you can find information on all spiritual interpretations of the world, if you like. And you can pick up books on Satanism. Like, you can pick up books on Christianity, you can pick up books on Wicca, you can pick up books on everything that I can think of. And there is no stopping you from expanding your mind a little bit and having a read.
Yeah.
So by expanding your mind, you're expanding your consciousness of the way other people do things, but you don't necessarily have to fully invest into how somebody else, and you shouldn't fully invest into how someone else is doing something, because ultimately your soul is unique.
Yeah, exactly.
Invisible sunbeams. I have another question for you guys. What are your views on the definition of a witch? What is a witch? I feel that sometimes I have no right to call myself a witch. Possible imposter syndrome right there.
I think it doesn't matter what we define it as. What do you define it as? I mean, like, we can talk about what we define it as, but
how about we are in total control of ourselves. Changing some of the initials around a bit. A witch is freedom. A witch is an expression of magic and spirituality. And magic is in the heart of a witch, and the mind of a witch. Before Ashburn tells me off, it's all in the mind, guys. But when heart and mind of a person looking for spirituality are aligned, and they are seeking the mystery, they are seeking something deeper, they're seeking to know themselves better and understand themselves better, and to understand the world around them and how it's all interconnected better, to look at the tapestry and the weaving of the great web of weird in the world. That to me is a witch. But it can also be a whole other host of things, because it can also be a prophet, it could also be a priest, it could also be a priestess.
I think that there are different ways that we approach that.
I think a name, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Shakespeare had it down. I think we pay too much attention to the label and not enough attention to the weaving. So simply I am.
Yeah, exactly. I am that I am.
I am that I am. No. Let's not do that.
Yeah. I know what that. A witch for me is just one of many names for someone who is able to see the unseen. And when I say see, I mean that loosely again. Because you can feel see. You can physically see. Yes, you can touch see. But to tap into,
you can dream
that which isn't.
Yeah.
And I think that it has a lot of names in our society, and a lot of them lean a certain way, but all of them kind of have that in common.
I prefer seeker because I feel like a lot of the spiritual practice is very much about seeking something.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even define what you are seeking, just that you are seeking something. So it's more about the action than it is about the definition. Now, the thing about saying a witch is a child of nature. Now, I agree with you because I'm a big nature fan.
Okay, but we're all a child of nature.
She just cut me off. I was going to give
sorry,
two.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just like, what? Sorry, carry on.
Firstly, there are witches who are completely removed from what we now consider the natural world, and they consider themselves techno witches. So there are witches that work with like electrical currents and stuff that is man-made. That's not my jam, so I can't give you any more about that, but they exist. And the other side of it is what Cris was about to say, is that we're all children of the earth anyway, because we're all, regardless, interdependent on the earth, and the earth is our ancestors. And I'm going to shut up and let Cris do it now, because that's Chris's line.
So that always reminds me of the Alan Watts quote. Welcome to Capricorn Central, where all we have is quotes. But yeah, so the fact that when I hear witch, I hear child of nature. So we're all children of nature, but not only that, we are literally an extension of nature. The same way that a tree is the arm of the ecosystem. So are we. And so Alan Watts actually posed the thought that when we run up the hill, do we run up the hill or does the hill rise to meet us?
I love it.
When we are rowing a boat, are we actually moving the boat with rowing, or is the water moving the boat? Like, is the water meeting us and propelling us forward? So it's both. We're connected. We are not as divided off as we would have ourselves think. And furthermore, to think of techno witches even as divided off, I think, is also another misconception, because it's all energy. I mean, even stuff that we think of as man-made, well, how did it come to be? How did we get those things? We put them together. Okay, well, how do we put together the things that we used to make the things that we put together with? If you break it down far enough, it's all that.
Right, Alan Watts. We are all connected. We are not separate from nature. We are nature. The universe and the individual are inseparable. The flowers cannot survive without the bees, and the bees cannot survive without the flowers. They are one organism. We are part of a tremendous brain which we cannot understand, because the part cannot comprehend the whole.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm sitting here like, do you think a tree worries about if it's being fake?
No, but trees are so much wiser than human beings.
But I'm just saying, like, or like, do you think a rabbit does? I'm just saying, like, they just live.
We're basically cucumbers with anxiety, human beings.
I just pictured like a wacky waving inflatable flailing cucumber. Yep. Yes.
I am the heart of magic that needs no name. That's really pretty, Asbjorn. I like it.
I do too.
Madam Luna, I love your brains and your faces and whatnots, but man, an intellectual human is just the bee's knees, and I love this chat. Thank you, Madam Luna. Yay. We love your brain too.
Yes.
Brains.
Licking all the brains.
Anyway.
So I just want to share, if you don't mind. So part of my getting over the imposter thing.
Good call.
Is speaking up, using my voice more, bringing the things that I create into the light.
I'm going to stop her. If you haven't, after this, if you haven't seen her first vocal video about ancestors and One Blood, go immediately. Right, carry on.
That's actually where I was leading up to. So that
I know, but I'm going to plug
so
you.
I jumped you earlier and you jumped me now. So whatever, we're back to square one.
Balance, baby, balance.
Yeah. Basically, part of my jumping out of this, because I'm classically trained in Italian arias, and I've been writing poetry most of my life and songs, and I keep it all in. I stopped sharing it at about 20 something, like early 20s, entirely, and I'm being told by spirit to get back into that, especially with hell. And so this was a step in me doing that. So if you would like to check it out, it's called One Blood on my channel, and I just uploaded it like the other night. So I would appreciate feedback. But yeah, the Alan Watts quote is in there. What?
That was my blog post about fear, which is kind of where I was going to go with the dealing with the imposter syndrome. So I actually did what Cris did a couple of years ago, and that the Morrigan was like, I want you to sing on video, and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
It's still on my Facebook, me singing my it's one of my little chants that I sing, and my grandma used to sing it, so it's like an ancestor song that came through I think it's a hymn, I think, but it's come through like my family line as well, so maybe it has older roots than hymns. I don't know. The Knight Won His Spurs song, it's all about dragons, so it's a very odd hymn. As hymns go, you know, dragons, knights, heroes, okay. But I was going to say that overcoming imposter syndrome for me is very much about dealing with my fear. Because I feel like fear and imposter syndrome are interconnected. I don't think you can have one without the other. The fear of not being enough is one thing. The fear of change is another. And for me, this has been very much about sitting with my fear. Sitting inside of my fear, not to demonize it, not to make it into a bad, inverted commas, thing, but to understand it, just to understand where my fears are coming from and where they are holding me back from becoming elevated, and having seen a life that I wish to lead and giving my all to lead to that future, because I will no longer accept a life which is ruled by fear. I will no longer allow myself to sit and be undriven when I know that happiness is within my grasp, and if I can just overcome the things that I am afraid of, I can have them, and I deserve to have them, and I want to give back in that process as well, because it wouldn't be just me. So overcoming that fear is something that has been tied to overcoming imposter syndrome. Like, I deserve to be happy.
Yes. I like what Luna said. She said, I did the same thing. Weird. The dreamers, the writers, dancers, and poets are being called to create. Calling all artists.
So I think that poets, writers, artists, dancers, all of that is all part of the rich tapestry of living spirituality. I think they are expressing and expressions of divinity. When we write from a place of soul. When we dance from a place of soul. When we sing from a place of soul, and the interconnectedness between soul and the other realms and the gods, and however you perceive these things. It's a truth, a higher truth, a spiritual, elevated truth to be expressed, and expression is divine.
Well, yeah. I mean, the end.
Well, yeah, doesn't everyone know that?
I feel like, you know, with a lot of the shit that's going on in the world right now, it makes sense that these sorts of people are being called to do soul speak, to speak more soul into the world, and provide more connection there. I mean, that makes absolute sense to me. Let's see. The fear, Magpie says, the fear that you don't know anything and you're full of shit and someone will call you out on it. Yeah. Yeah.
We haven't really touched on that, like the fear of someone else kind of drawing attention to our weak points.
Oh, that's a whole other, good call, because that wasn't a thing that I wanted to talk about, because that goes into being fiercely vulnerable.
Yeah.
And the belief that we automatically assume that being weak, or like being vulnerable, is weak, and also that weakness is even bad.
Yep.
Because that's not necessarily true. Like, it's being vulnerable, being weak can show us some of our most tender moments, our most powerful raw moments as well.
Yeah. Raw was the word I was going to go for.
Yeah.
So I've talked about before that I feel that the world needs more of that, not less. Like, there are people who are like, you care too much. And I'm like, yeah, the world needs more of that, not less.
And that's why there's dancers, writers, singers doing it.
Yeah. And vulnerability, we are taught our whole lives to not be vulnerable, not to be vulnerable with other people, not be vulnerable in relationships, not be vulnerable with the ones that love us. We're taught to hide who we truly are. And when we find people that we can be truly vulnerable with, something magical happens. It shifts the balance of everything that we've been told, and we come to realize that we are safe to express ourselves. And that can be a really powerful experience, and it's happened to me with Tribe and in other places too. And the thing about it is it's very difficult to tell people who are very, very jammed into the nobody's going to love me, nobody's going to accept me, I can't be vulnerable, because what if someone rejects that? And ultimately, if someone rejects you for your rawest, truest self, then the problem is probably with them, because they couldn't handle that rawness, like we said earlier. Your vulnerable, raw, crazy self deserves to be celebrated. It deserves to be loved.
Yeah. And as opposite as it sounds, there's strength in pain.
Oh, it doesn't sound opposite to me.
I mean, but a lot of people think, pain to be hurt
is
to be weak, and to be weak is bad.
Weakness is not bad. The same way that strength is not good. It's just fluctuating states of being.
There's something to be said for endurance.
Oh yeah. We like endurance here in the Earth Sign Corner.
Which brings me to a thing that I actually channeled from, and everyone will know this. I actually channeled from a conversation the other day via Hell. And for those of you who don't know, Hell has she has some eating instruments, some utensils, and they're called Feast and Famine, essentially. And that's what she feeds those at her castle. And we were talking about pain, and we were talking about why she would do that. And I heard in my ear, they must dine on their pain to become stronger. I give you feast and famine. And that was when I was like, oh, okay. So, that goes into the whole vulnerability is weakness belief, and the whole, big cycle that starts spinning in your brain, where it's like, no, I have to go through my pain, like almost like a shamanic death sort of thing, where I have to go through my pain to come out the other side. Every time I shed my skin, my new skin becomes stronger.
So this is a more organic lesson for me as well. So I've had a slightly different perspective. Obviously, okay, Babe and Hell are a lot alike. And
yeah, man.
We feel like they're kind of like sisters, basically, at this point. But because Babe is the element.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Babe is the aspect, the crone aspect, whom I work with the most. And I have said it is in the face of pain that we see our true selves. Because in the lessons of, if you go on my channel, if you want to hear more about this is Morrigan and the Painful Path. Because I've had people say to me, why on earth would you follow the goddess Morrigan when she puts you through trials and pain all the time? And I'm like, because it's not about putting you into a place of pain to put you into a place of weakness. It's to put you in a place of pain so you can see how strong you are, and that weakness is necessary and strength is necessary and the lesson is necessary. And you can figure who you are in these moments. You can see your truest self when you drop all the facade of who you are telling yourself you ought to be. When you drop the imposter, you realize who you truly are.
I'm going to repeat something that Ashburn wrote a little earlier, because I really like it.
Okay.
Be so set in stone that to be so set in stone you cannot express your vulnerability as weakness. So on the other end, to be so strict, to be so straight-faced, to be so stoic that you essentially lose your humanity and your adaptability is quote-unquote weakness in that sense. Because that also could be, if you're unmoving in a fight, you have to be flexible as well.
Oh, I do like it.
Yeah. So that on the opposite end, like everybody always assumes to be the mountain is to be, strong. Well, and not even all that, like we're using words like strength and weakness, but what we really mean when we're using words like that is like the winner and the loser.
Which is awful, which again, isn't it?
Is about finish line, not the journey.
Competition, again. Yes. It's about, well, if I can beat whomever I'm competing with, even if that's me, then I'm the winner, not the loser. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, also, in moments of pain, particularly in moments of shared pain, I think there are real true moments of humanity and beauty in moments of pain. And what I have said on a few occasions is when the world is full of horror, look for the helpers, because you will always find them there. You will find the people who lay down their lives, the people who go out of their way, the people who tear themselves apart to help for no other reason than to help other human beings. So moments of horror and pain sometimes do shed the most beautiful moments of humanity.
Odo's Road, even mountains have rock slides.
Avalanche.
Speaking in metaphor, I like that.
I've missed what you said the first time, Gothic. I've only got you auto-correcting yourself.
Where?
Because
Gothic said Babe and Hell are absolutely sisters.
That's what I feel like. I feel like they sit
around
in the underworld.
So many lessons in common.
Oh, they sit around in the underworld with their like bone cups and having a drink. What did you do prophecy-wise today? Well, let me tell you.
So I sent this moth to someone.
Oh, we're in moths now, are we? Interesting. We were talking. You've missed. We've been talking about sort of overcoming imposter syndrome and not placing our worth in other people's hands, and kind of like
what weaknesses and strength is, and
it's really about going beyond the labels, though, because the other thing about that is strength and weaknesses are, as terms go, they're subjective. So what one person decides is strength and what one person decides is weakness, and is going to be different to what another person decides is strength and what person decides is weakness. And if you are imposter syndroming and you're taking on somebody else's evaluation of what strength and weakness is, you're already at a disadvantage because you've already decided that you've not measured up to somebody else's evaluations of what they think strength and weakness is. Strength and weaknesses are problematic at best anyway, because we need all of these experiences for life. Life happens in the in-between spaces between these concepts that we create in order to define the world around us. And real life, to me, doesn't happen in those boundaries, those lines. It happens in the in-between spaces, in the edges.
Yeah. In between and out of line, out between and in the lines, something like that.
Yeah. I love that. That's some more of Chris's poetry for anyone else.
That's more. I have like this thing that I'm starting that's like conversations with hell, just random stuff that she gives me. Turn up cool.
I think what we must say about saying it's all about control is we do these things to ourselves as well. We have to take personal responsibility for the fact that we do these things to ourselves. It's like I said earlier, it's like I have realized that I have put myself in a place of fear, and if I keep putting myself in a place of fear, I'm not going to be happy. So,
well, I think something that when I think of this kind of thing, I always think of the one video of Kellyanne Maddox's where she was talking about naming, like putting names to the different aspects of her. Mm-hmm. And so like her inner critic essentially, or like her inner child that just wants to play and like dick off basically instead of like getting work done and stuff like that, and how she basically would kind of have that conversation with herself like, okay, look, I will listen to the child inside of me, right? I will listen to that spirit that just wants to play. But first we will do this, and then we will go for ice cream or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, so that you are feeding all the sides of you.
I like
and that. I think it was really powerful to put a name to it. I mean, a lot of people would be like, oh, but isn't that like, you know, multiple personality disorder stuff? But I think
Madness again.
Yeah, well, there's a degree where like you're consciously doing it. And I think that there's power in naming it like that. And saying, you know, okay, inner critic. Like I watched a TED Talk and I recommend it to anyone. I don't remember the exact name. I will share it on my page after this. But she was talking about imposter syndrome, and she was talking about how she had an inner critic that she named Miss Vader, like Darth Vader. And then she had an inner hero, like the ultimate hero, whose name was Betty Lou, and she was Southern, and sometimes she used some profanities with Miss Vader, but overall, like, she had a heart of gold, and she wanted to do the best she could. And she would have that, like, come into dialogue with what she was doing, where she would hear something, and she would recognize it as, all right, well, that's a Miss Vader right there. So what would Betty Lou say to Miss Vader? And she, like, countered her brain to train it to, you know, to fight back essentially against herself and to correct those habits. And it doesn't ever fully go away, but it did seem to help. And Kellyanne essentially was talking about that kind of thing too. So yeah, I'm glowing apparently. There we go.
I'm getting darker. It's really quite
Sunlight.
awkward. It's like in increments of darkness.
Well, the clouds go by, and then I'm sitting here like, hold on. Hi, guys. How's it going?
I'm here in the
And then the sun comes out, and I'm like, hi! No.
Balance
no middle ground.
Wolf Raven says, everyone has multiple personalities. You just have to make sure they know each other.
Yeah, we all do have different aspects to our personality, different things. We all have that child inside that just wants to play and wants to be loved and held and appreciated. And we all have that parent that's like, you know, we need to get shit done. We need to adult today. Let's go. Like, enough playing. It's time to get up. We all have the rebel that just wants to say, screw your cause, I'm doing what I want. You know, and then we all have that, I don't know, the bookworm, I guess, stereotype that always wants to follow the rules and be prepared. There are so many aspects. The seductress.
Oh, wow.
Or the seducer, if you're a male. Yeah.
Yeah, the idea of being a complicated, complex, multifaceted, multi-layered human being, and it being okay to be all of those things at the same time.
Yeah.
I struggle with a kind of dissociative personality disorder, and it's difficult to hear what all of them are saying at once and it make everyone happy. Within yourself, then I'm not going to... Okay. Firstly, if you require proper help, just seek proper help. Like, we're not doctors and things, but I will say that out front. But what I would suggest is just listen to one voice at a time and stop trying to take it all in one mouthful and break it up into nuggets and chow down on bits at a time.
You just tell Gothic to have nuggets.
Yeah. Soul nuggets.
This is why you come here, Gothic. If you know each of them deeply and understand them, you can make sure they are all fulfilled. it's hard to find a balance, but
the thing about that is can you truly fully know parts of yourself, because that you're always evolving and shifting and changing.
There's always the subconscious, there's always the umbra of your consciousness that you will never
fully understand. Yeah,
that's why other people can mirror things back to you that you don't realize, because they see it and you can't. Which I guess that plays into imposter stuff, though, because that's the fear of that happening and it not being something that you want to happen. Now everybody wants chicken nuggets. Briarlyn, come for nuggets, stay for the boobs and balls.
The rituality of buy nuggets.
Boom.
Welcome to the Flux Cafe, where we have soul nuggets, spiritual coffee, and balls.
Yes.
Once you have identified all parts of yourself, I've found that I can sort out who is saying what and understand why I'm feeling what I am. Willow Fairglow. It's kind of what you were saying, isn't it? To try and identify where the different elements are coming from and kind of give them names, and then then you can evaluate.
To play with it and have, like it doesn't
even have fun with it.
Shit.
Yeah.
Like I know we go deep, but we also realize that there are times to have break dancing. And there's times, Jen Black one says, just watch out for the shit castles. Yes. Hashtag shit castles are flowers.
Well, this is kind of actually why me and Chris do what we do. I think that we need the humor, because I think that's just part of us expressing the fun side, the silly side, and I think it's necessary as fuck, to be honest. To be deathly serious about all this. It's a difficult topic, so we need to be deathly serious the whole way through.
I grew up with my mom, who was a nurse for nursing homes and such, and in that kind of job there is something referred to as nurses humor. And you have to have it because it's such a heavy job. There's so much responsibility, there's so much emotional toll, there's so many sad stories that you see and good stories, but it's so emotionally involved that you have to be able to find the humor. My mom's quote that she had plastered on her desk, and then I got a little card of it and put it on my mirror growing up, was, "We laugh to survive." And that is one of the key quotes that I use. That's one of my main mottos. It's no, we laugh to survive. And I don't think that there's an irreverency in that necessarily, or an irreverence. I don't think that that's in there. I think that, sometimes we need a break in the clouds to breathe.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like you said, I think that's why, I know that's why I'm like that. And I think that's why your channel's like that, where you're like, all right, we're going to talk about some deep shit. Also, here's a song from the 80s.
It's also just part of my personality, and I'm down with it. So
yeah,
that's also part of overcoming imposter syndrome, is I will randomly sing shit at your face, and that's just who I am, and tough.
Yeah. At your face, not with your face, at your face, just in your face, ah,
like a virgin.
Hey,
touched for the very first time. Chris's dungeon. Anyway, I just imagine
boss for fun. Let's see. Where did I see that? Oh yeah, Pepper Jackie says laughter is good medicine. I agree.
Yeah,
laughter is great.
Medicine is a really good word for it as well.
And everything has its medicine to it. You just
exactly. That's where I was going. She stole my thought process again. So I was gonna say,
you'll get me later.
I was gonna say, it's very much like the poison path.
That's also where I was going. Yeah, there you go.
That everything can be a poison or a medicine. The challenge is in the dose. So you can overdose on things that on the surface of it look healthy as fuck. You can
as fuck.
Healthy as I'm enjoying my swearing today. I don't know why. It's been a long day. And you can have little bits of things which are supposedly poisonous, but it's good for you, and it has medical benefit. And it's the same with, like, you know, you have too much medicine and that will kill you. And you have too much poison and it will kill you, and you have not enough and you won't change. It won't make a difference. So that can apply to things like humor and things in terms of our spirituality as well, that we need to embrace all the different things, all the different elements, all the different aspects of ourselves, because they are medicine. And as long as we don't go too far down the rabbit hole, rabbit being the fear caller, with one thing and leave sort of unbalance ourselves. You're right over there. That was a very deep inhale.
I'm debating whether to comment on this or not.
What?
All right. So the two wolf thing. The two wolf lore. Okay. For those of you who don't know. Okay, so Madame Luna says, so like that saying about we have two wolves inside of us and it depends on which one you feed, like the good wolf, the bad wolf kind of thing. Mm-hmm. The black and the white one. Only we have multiple wolves personalities, and the one you feed most makes up who you show up as. Okay, so yes, I'm going with that, and I like where you're taking that. Also, though, I want to say on that wolf thing, the two wolves thing pisses me off.
I got the feeling it might. I had that from the inhaling.
Because it is a polarity. It is the black and white thing, and the truth is it's not. We are both wolves. And it is a balance. To deny one wolf is to deny a part of yourself.
Plus, no part of yourself is bad or good.
The whole, like, oh, it's which wolf you feed is a very, and don't get me wrong,
linear.
I don't have an issue with Christians. However, it is a very Christianity influenced myth.
Yeah.
And there are versions of that myth that I have heard that are supposedly older that do not say that.
What do they say?
They say it is a balance between the two.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I see that, I'm like, because there's something inside of me that's like, it's not that black and white. So no, where you were taking that, Luna, absolutely, and I'm vibing with the whole like the wolves as personalities and it, but like the myth itself, I wanted to talk about for a second because that is something I see all the time shared, and I'm like, but that again is dichotomy. That again is the two extremes and
polarity rather than inclusion. Yeah.
Yes.
It's not fluxy enough.
Yep, pretty much. I'm like, it's not fluxy enough. We need more wolves.
More wolves! Everybody in! I'm a fox. I'm just sat here like, what the fuck's going on? Where are these wolves coming from? I'm out. Hang on. I'll just be sat under Chris's tail, like hiding with like Chris's tail on top of my head, like, I'm a wolf! I fit in!
You are a red fox. I think they might notice.
I can paint myself black and white. But look, I'm feeding myself, painting myself black and white. No?
No, I don't think that's going to work.
I'll just shift on out of there. It'll be fine.
But yeah, so now that I've probably pissed off half the chat. That's why I was like, I don't know if I should say this.
Well,
but it is like think, right? Lines, I have a hard time with it.
I get the sentiment of, you know, not feeding your inner demons, but to be honest, make friends with your inner demons. Make friends with the parts of yourself that are broken.
Right, exactly, Madalena. She says, oh, that's true, though, because by feeding one, you starve another. Yes, and both of them are you. So why would you starve a piece of yourself, period?
Yeah.
Why not, like, have a conversation with both of them, care for both of them, and have a balance? That is, like, that's strength.
Just feed yourself. Just feed yourself.
Yeah, because there are times to be strong. There are times to be weak, quote, unquote, in that way. Yep. There are times to be quiet. There are times to be loud. You need both of them to exist properly.
Yeah.
His inner demons plate of cookies slowly backs away.
That's pretty much. That's
I left this for you. Just shout down the tunnel and leave it at the end, and just kind of.
I made hell cookies. Emotionally treat yourself. You know,
yes,
that's from Gloomsmith for later on. That's exactly true. You know, we talk about self-love a lot in spiritual communities, and I don't think we talk about emotional self-love to the parts of ourselves which we have determined to be less desirable or whatever. Yeah, feed them soul nuggets. Feed the inside parts of yourself.
Soul nuggets. I love that.
Yep. That's the catchphrase from this video. Feed them soul nuggets.
That's quite on the side that would be called, quote unquote, the black wolf, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's considered selfish.
Yeah.
But we also need to take care of ourselves. I mean, that's going back to the imposter syndrome thing, is like you can run yourself ragged. And if you're not taking care of yourself first, if you're not filling yourself first, or you're filling yourself up first, then how can you truly be at your best for others?
Yep.
So you need them soul nuggets, dog.
That's this video. Hashtag soul nuggets. I've gone on Twitter and shared it.
Hashtag feed all the wolves. Everyone needs some nuggets.
Everyone needs some nuggets. Come down to Flux Cafe. You can have lots of nuggets. Come down to the cafe. Off price on nuggets. Anyway.
Off price on nuggets.
Okay, is there any part of overcoming imposter syndrome that anybody has any questions about? Or imposter syndrome in general?
Or like anything we've talked about today.
Yeah. Snow Orchid. Sometimes people have trouble feeling the love wolf and focusing entirely on their inner demons. Raising right hand right here. What, seeing the strength? The inability to see one's strength is kind of imposter syndrome. It's kind of, yeah. I think that kind of ties in.
I guess it's just something from my flux brain that I'm like, wait, which one do you mean by love wolf?
Yeah.
Because they both have love. Yeah. So are we talking about the shadow wolf? Feeding the shadow wolf? Because I was just saying
there are love in all parts.
You might call the black wolf that because of the selfish.
There is love in all parts of yourself.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
So I'm like, well, which one?
Yeah, in all the parts of yourself, there is love. It's just the perception.
There's love in all things. Anyway, not everybody knows how to express it healthily, but.
Question, Joey, can I get a ranch with my soul nugget? You can get some Underworld ranch. You can get some Babe's Ranch Au Crow.
Yes, the seasonings in that ranch come from Demeter's fields.
Self-love versus self-hate. The thing is with that though, why is it a versus?
Right.
It's all self. And why?
All the time.
All self, all the time, all nuggets. So the thing about self-love and self-hate is it's again putting into polarities about things that we do and don't like about ourselves.
I'm sorry. I'm happy because Gothic quoted RuPaul, and that's my jam. He was like, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen up in here?
I preach.
Yes, girl. Yeah, I fucking love RuPaul. Yes. Sorry, continue. I just got really happy because RuPaul came into the chat.
So, I was just thinking where I was. I'm sorry. So the thing about self-love,
self-hate,
is these are concepts which are often sold in spirituality, like you have to get over the self-hate and get to a place of self-love. And it's so polarizing again. It's like you can tell yourself off. That doesn't make you hateful towards yourself. And you can big yourself up. That doesn't make you egotistical. You can do all of these things because you need to regulate. You can't be ego all the time. You can't be like self-deprecating all the time. You have to find the balance. You have to talk yourself up when you need it and tell yourself off when you need it too, because otherwise nobody's all good or all bad, just hands. And the self-love, self-hate thing always irks me slightly, because it's like, there's kind of, in a lot of the self-love stuff, there's kind of like a removal of responsibility. Not all of it, but a lot of it, there is a removal of personal responsibility and personal choice, because ultimately we have a choice. There is always choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mind and magic. Yep.
See, again, West Coast, feed your self-hate with self-love. That's suggesting that they are polar and you should be getting rid of one. You shouldn't be
It's not a battle.
Yeah. If you make yourself a battlefield, you're going to get wounded. You're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
I'm going to calm down now. I got a bit overexcited there. And a breathe.
Feed your self-hate with self-love, and feed your self-love with self-hate. I don't know. It's just, it's feed the self.
Feed the self, yeah. Absolutely.
Mindfulness, yeah. Yeah, to be mindful of your actions, to be mindful of where you are at, how you are feeling, to keep, we keep constant tabs on like other people and their feelings about us, or how they're feeling, or how they're doing. When's the last time you checked in with yourself and went, how am I feeling today?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean like, feeling like, about the day. I mean like feeling, like tapping into your body right now, tapping into your emotions right now, your thought process, your state of being in this moment, and asking yourself how you feel. Like, that is an act of feeding the self, because it's simply listening to the self. And don't we all just basically want to be heard and seen?
Loved.
Yeah.
And accepted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joey, amen, amen, alleluia. Okay.
I feel over medium today.
That's good. We're using that one.
But
soul steak. You can have it over medium or over raw, whichever one you like. I'm experimenting with my shadow work and body dysmorphia. It's a struggle to honor my negative feelings without trying to bury them, but I'm working on it. This is another thing. So I always feel like people are like, right, I'm going to do shadow work now. And it's usually when it gets to about Samhain and the dark half of the year, and people are like, right, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, I'm doing shadow work nearly all the time. Like, not as in depth all the time, because that would be depressing as, I don't want to be in that space all the time. But like, it's a regular, and it kind of is naturally fluxy, and it's kind of cyclic. It's kind of like dealing with certain elements of shadow and coming around and putting that into practice and finding the joy from it and finding all the different variations within that energy, and then keeping going through the cycles. It's very Persephone in that kind of duty and love and honor and finding the balance between all things and walking the wandering path is what I decided to call it in the video this morning.
Well, it's like with ancestors, like ancestral work on the latter half of the year, everybody's always like down with the ancestors.
Do it all the time.
Like,
come to the flux.
And I'm like, no, the veil is always thin, man. It's just, it might be especially
noticeable.
Yes, especially noticeable because it's being fed so much with our attention to it during that time. But I don't know that it is it's not like it's impenetrable any other time of the year. They're still around. They're still very much there. But for whatever reason, that time of the year, because of what a lot of the holidays are about, we look to that which is unseen because there's less light.
So I think it's Mystic who's changed his name.
I think so too, madam.
Yeah.
Yes. Rejoice
and love yourself, because baby, you are born this way. I love that song. And I sing. It's Baby, you are born this way.
Yeah, magpie, exactly. You don't reach a plateau and stay there. There is always another mountain to climb. And while that can be like, oh God, it's also like there's always another mountain. Like there's other things on this mountain and other sides and valleys.
That's perception again. Like, oh God, now I have to do this. Or, oh my God, I have a new adventure. Perception.
Yes. Which we can control.
Yep, it's a choice again.
So that takes us back to reality and the notion of crazy.
And creating your own reality and creating your own emotional state.
And creation itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think within magic, we can block ourselves a lot of times.
Oh yeah,
spell-wise.
Rocks that aren't boulders, yeah.
Yeah, rocks that aren't boulders. And also, we will, I mean, how many people have been in like a ritual kind of thing that they've planned out, and then this like imposter syndrome stuff creeps in, and they're like, I'm going through the motions, but I'm too busy worrying about going through the motions the right way that I'm not energetically in the moment pouring all of my energy in it.
Well, that's why I refuse to do pre-planned ritual for the most part.
I don't do it very often.
Because I'm so Virgo-y. If I do all the, I'm a chaos Virgo, and I can be very Virgo-y, but then sometimes I'm really not. So if I get too Virgo-y about it, so this is again a choice, then I know that I pre-planned this, and this, and then I freak out about that. So what I do is I allow the Virgo side of myself to go, right, I want this kind of incense for this because that matches up with that. I want this kind of color in there because that matches up with that, or I'm feeling that, or I'm feeling that smell. And then I just let the ritual go as it goes. And
it's really more of a conversation, isn't it? Conversation with yourself and with spirit and the situation, because that's how I do too. Like I'll look at my shelf and go, all right, guys, what do I need?
Yeah.
And it just jumps out.
Yeah.
Like not physically. I mean, sometimes physically, but most of the time it's like, nope, being energetically this thing. Okay. This thing, this much, that much, keep adding. Nope. We're good. Okay. Like,
hi, Catatonia.
Also, Mary Morning said, I've had my fill of shadow work. I'm ready for some light. I also want to point out that light can also be your shadow as well.
Light is blinding as ass, motherfuckers. Light can be just as nasty.
Your shadow can be being exposed.
We're talking about moths. Why are we talking about moths?
I don't know. Moths? I saw moths too.
Moths I associate with Babe, so this is from my personal gnosis, and to my knowledge, it did not exist out there before I put it out there, but who knows? It might have existed out there somewhere, but I'd never seen it anywhere before I announced it. I've got 2 or 3 videos about moths and Babe, and I have a blog post about moths and Babe, which I will find and link in the chat. I honestly feel like moths are very much associated with Babe, which would be the death goddess element.
Which is another part of why we are like, yeah, Hell and Babe are like, what's up?
Yeah.
Because Hell I also associate with a moth, the Death Head's moth, which is part of why it's my logo for my business.
Yeah. Moth and Babe. Go. There you go. It's in chat.
Yay.
Joey, give us the definition of Virgo-y.
Fabulous. Virgo-y. What was that?
Fabulous.
Fabulous.
And organized.
Snap, snap, snap.
I'm just fabulous. I tell.
Yeah. Ritualist conversation is the only way I can perform ritual. It's amazing and freeing.
Yes.
It's being in the moment.
Yes.
And you know what? Like some people aren't built that way. Some people, it's in the details that they channel their energy, and that's how that works for them. I am not one of those people. And I think that that's okay. There's different people, different strokes for different folks. And the only way you're going to know what your stroke is if you experiment and you try.
Try stroking all the things.
Yes. Stroke all the things. Hashtag love all the wolves.
Stroke all the things. Well.
Yeah. But I mean, that imposter thing is what stops us from doing things like that a lot of times too. It's like, oh, well, I can't actually tell anybody about my, for a long time, I didn't talk about my practice in depth on YouTube. I've been on here for quite a while now, and I didn't. I would talk about my thoughts on things, but I wouldn't actually talk about my actual practice until very recently. I started sharing things. And it's because of the fact that everybody out there, not everybody, that's a generalization, that's my own thing. A lot of people are quick to shoot you down or quick to try and lift themselves up. And it's really their own thing. Huh?
Yeah. People trying to blow out your candle to make theirs shine brighter.
Yes. And it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. But the more candles that are lit, the brighter room we have.
Yeah. And if it's your true inner fire, then the only person who can flame on like that is you.
Yeah.
So if you don't be true to who you are, then the world is missing out on that little bit of light.
Yeah, exactly.
And I use the term hesitantly because I'm more of a darkness girl, but...
Right, but I think, well, even your darkness. I mean, a lot of times, some of the people that you're most drawn to are the people who share their scars and share their wounds and share their tears. And it's not because they're this perfect picture. I mean, Joey and I were talking about before we got on that, like, there's this strange thing with YouTube where if you are more done up, you typically get more of a response.
Yeah.
Because you quote unquote look more professional, you look more put together. And there's an element of people that want to watch that, but there's also an element of soul that, regardless of if you dress it up or dress it down, speaks to people.
Yeah.
And those tears, those scars, those lessons, that's what that is.
Well, I have on purpose on my channel, I have videos where I'm not wearing any makeup. I have videos where I'm crying my damn eyes out. I'm like, and those videos, some people have like gone out of their way to find me and like thank me for doing it, because there is a truth in a vulnerability again. And like Cris said earlier, being fiercely vulnerable, allowing oneself to be fiercely vulnerable, which is Chris's term, means that people realize that they aren't alone and there is a truth to it. It's like showing your soul for the whole world to see and going, oh, this is Cris again. Do your wound thing.
So being fiercely vulnerable to me is taking, your wound or your bleeding heart, essentially pulling it out, throwing it down on the middle of the floor or laying it down and pointing at it and saying, this is my wound. It is bleeding. It is raw. It is ripped open. It is not pretty, but it is me and it is mine and I am working on it. And there's power in claiming that.
There's power in that.
And there's something in that everyone can relate to because everyone has had those wounds. Yeah. Everyone has had those moments where they are bleeding on the floor, essentially. And people need to hear that more. We are searching for that. Yeah. You said earlier we're seekers.
Yeah.
I think we're searching for the pain in a lot of ways because it means that we aren't the only ones.
Yeah, we all know
that have it.
Yeah. And there's comfort in that.
Yeah.
There's comfort in the shared experience, even if the experiences aren't identical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was the other thing? Cris, I also feel it's important to be silent about certain things. That's why I speak in generals, Mary Morning. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Like I said earlier, there's a time to speak and there's a time to be silent. And it's the balance of that, and that balance is going to be different for different people. I had to learn where mine is. I'm still learning where it is some, but yeah.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, the thing about that is it's a little bit like the reap and sow thing. Like there are certain times when it is not good for you on a soul level to be putting it all out on the field. Like there is certain times when you shouldn't be like visible and up front and be like, if you're not ready to tell the world what you are going through because you're going through it, then don't tell the world you're going through it and you're going through it. And you don't have to air all the dirty laundry out in public either.
I think the key is anyways that you don't have to do anything. It's not a have to.
It's a choice.
It's your choice.
Yeah.
And you can choose whatever you want.
And actually, it's just as empowering to choose to be silent when you choose to be silent as it is to choose to share. So it's not necessarily about the silence or the speaking. It's about you. It's about where you're at, and it's about what you need and what you want. So it's, again, going back to that imposter syndrome, saying, you know what, I've been told I should be silent, but I don't want to be, or I've been told I should talk about it and I don't want to. And it's perfectly okay. If you don't want to talk about it, then don't talk about it. I mean, you know, that goes to a point, like, don't be hurting yourself, killing yourself up on the inside, but find a safe space where you feel comfortable to talk about it rather than, you know, overshare maybe. But
sometimes to be called weird or called into question or called fake, like I said, means that you're on the outskirts. And sometimes it doesn't invalidate your experience at all. Not even sometimes, it just doesn't. But I think that, again, it's other people's fear. Their fear of, you know, you going somewhere that they haven't explored yet. And, you know, sometimes if it's out of love, it's like a backlash because they're afraid for themselves and it transfers.
I wonder how much of it is imposter syndrome versus imposter syndrome.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, Magpie said imposter syndrome in terms of their wounds, feeling like their wounds aren't valid. There's a validity thing there. There's a self-worth and the power, or the acknowledgement that you hold the power of choice within your own hands and not someone else's, and that you are the one that hands it off to someone else. Like, I don't know. I think that's a big part of it. Is breaking that imposter syndrome is like,
you got to get down with yourself, basically.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, that's a lifetime. It may well be a lifetime thing, because I don't know if any of us are going to be completely and utterly okay with ourselves all the time. I don't think we are.
Yeah.
We're always going to get mad at ourselves. We're always going to, not everybody, because that's generalization, but most people are probably their own worst critics, because they see things about themselves. It's like, even on a physical level, we notice things about ourselves that other people don't friggin' notice.
Yeah. Like for instance, right now, like for this chat, right? I got this eyeliner that dips down right here. Y'all see that?
No.
It's just a very slight dip in comparison to this one that's all like arched and pretty. This has like a dip right here. Y'all probably don't even notice it. But when we started the live chat a few minutes in, I did. And ever since then, I've been like, I really want to grab my liner and just fucking fix this. But I'm not going to do it on live. And then I got to the point where I'm like, no, we're talking about imposter syndrome. I'm going to be real. Fuck it. I got screwed up liner today. We're going with it. But that kind of thing, where like we notice things and no one else even notices.
Yeah. And we can be our own worst enemies in that terms, because we nitpick at it and we pick at it and we pick at it
and we think that it's like the biggest deal in the world,
and it's probably not. It's
freaking eyeliner. It's not the biggest deal in the world.
Anything, some people love us for our imperfections. So
yes, true.
The thing that I will tell about this is from my past, but it stayed with me, is I don't know if you can tell or not, but probably people will notice, I have a very slightly wonky chin. It's slightly wonky here, and it's always bothered me a little bit because it's not symmetrical, so it's a bit wonky. And I actually was like freaking out about it once, and someone was like, actually, that's one of the things I love about you. And it made me sit and think, when this person, and this is a long time ago, this is over 10, 15 years ago, but it made me sit and think about it, because sometimes the things that we perceive as not being enough are the things that people are looking at us and thinking, you know what, that's unique. That's beautiful.
So the very things that we're trying to fix about ourselves are the very things that make us alluring.
Yeah.
And which is interesting, because this goes back to the Ariel, the Little Mermaid thing that's been coming up for me. That has to do with the voice stuff that I've been working with you guys. And Ariel in the story makes a deal with the Sea Witch Ursula to give her her beautiful voice in exchange for some legs so that she can go live with her prince. And her prince, when he first met her, heard her singing voice, her beautiful voice, and that's what he fell in love with. And it turns out that was the thing he was drawn to. And in the end, she learned that, and basically the reason she gave her voice to the Sea Witch is because the Sea Witch told her, hey, look, up there on land, they like women who are seen and not heard.
Yeah.
So you don't need your voice anyway. But you do need feet to walk up there. So change this thing about yourself and give me the thing that is your soul.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think in the flaws and the imperfections is where we find our soul most often.
We are the cracks. We are the...
Yeah. It's like, what is it? The Chinese that when a bowl gets a crack in it, they fill it with gold? Japanese. Yeah. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. Because that's where the life happens, in the in-between spaces. That's where the real is to me. That's where the rawness is. The cracks that form in a... Think of it in terms of physique. When we are old, we have cracks in our skin, and we have wrinkles in our skin, and those are lines of experience. Those are wisdom lines. Those are spirit lines. Those are proof that we have lived and loved, and then we're wearing our experience on our face. But what does society tell us about age? It's not pretty.
If you are old, you are a burden to society. Yep. If you are old, then you have missed your mark. If you are old,
no longer attractive.
Give up and lay down now.
Yeah.
And wait to die.
And you have
no purpose. Not true.
Yeah. And it's not, because we've gotten away from honoring our elders.
Yes. That's a whole other soapbox that I will get on.
That is Joey poking Cris for next live chat.
We totally talk about that, like the crone, wise woman, wise man, sage archetype in our society these days.
Yep.
And how it is completely unappreciated.
Yep.
An independent woman is something to quote unquote be feared. So we'll make her a burden on society. We'll make her useless. We'll take her power that way.
Y'all don't need no makeup to be beautiful.
I'm just saying, it's a whole... Yeah, we can talk for 2 hours about that.
Yep.
I got plenty to say there.
Well, it's your turn on your side of the it's your side of the channel, so we can do that.
Absolutely.
Next. If people are... I'm guessing... Well, I don't care if people are interested. We'll do it anyway. Sorry, you all. It's not about needing makeup, by the way. This is how I feel about makeup.
No,
I have pictures on my profile and pictures and videos where I'm not wearing any, and I do it on purpose. And I'm like, this is me with my naked face. And then I have pictures where I have my crazy colored eyes or whatever, because I enjoy it.
Well, I think that's part of the whole, like, we can go deep, but we also have to have jokes.
Yeah.
There are days that I am done up, and there are days that I am in a band t-shirt with no makeup, like, all right, let's make a live stream. And that's just real. That's what I am, and that's what most people are anyway. Like, nope. But thank you for the compliments. Yes, I appreciate that. But yeah, I agree that beauty is inside, and that you don't need makeup for it. But also I do like makeup. I like playing with it. I like expressing myself, and that's another form of creativity. But it is, again, a choice. It's not a have to. It's a choose to.
I mean, I paint my face in terms of spirituality as well. So sometimes I will paint the Arwen underneath my lips, which is the tree. And
I am also a fan of painting faces. That is a thing.
Yes. Is it a thing? No context for you.
Not a have to. Mama Yonsei said it best. Pretty hurts. That has a lot of different connotations that you could take it to.
I don't agree with pretty hurts.
Well, here's where I took it.
Okay.
I took it to hurt is pretty.
That I can get behind.
Not pretty hurts like the
implication
beauty industry, or like the shoes that reform our feet. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But more like The pretty is in the hurt.
So subjugation through that sort of thing is a real thing. And the example that freaks me out for life, because I read, I think it was Snowflower and the Secret Fan it was in, and they talk about feet binding in China, because they used to bind women's feet so they would be small because it's more attractive to men.
Yeah.
And this is where they basically broke their feet into and then bound them up so they could never grow. And they would be in excruciating pain their entire life, and excruciating pain to the point where they couldn't walk after a certain point to look pretty for their men. And this is kind of like the problem of things like that, is that when we are truly controlled by expectation of other people, we are literally cutting our own feet off.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good book, by the way, Snowflower and the Secret Fan. It's all about two friends who love each other dearly, even though they're not supposed to communicate because the men in their lives refuse to let them. So they used to send each other fans with secret messages in. It's a beautiful book.
Ultimately, it's beauty within. That's the key. Well, I think
again, though, that's a value judgment on what's beautiful and what's ugly within yourself.
Well, and I was also gonna go ahead.
Because when we say beauty that comes from within, what do we mean? Do we have a certain set idea of what beauty from within is? And if we have days where we're jealous or angry or vicious even, does that make us less beautiful on the inside? It's a slippery slope.
Like suddenly we're an imposter. We're not the sweet thing that we should be. And because we had a day of like, I'm fucking sick of people, go away.
Yeah.
Oh, we're now a horrible person and it's all just a charade.
Yeah. I worry about that, because like I have days where I'm silly and funny and okay, I'm human Marmite. People either love me or they hate me. And beauty is subjective. And yes, let's be honest. I'm glad you're still alive. We didn't offend you by taking
been quiet for so long.
I was like a bit worried. We took his catchphrase and he wasn't talking to us anymore. Beauty is also perception, and perception is subjective. But the thing is that we need to start telling ourselves and each other it's okay to have the full range of experience and the full range of emotion. It's okay to be jealous, as long as you're not poisoning yourself. It's poison medicine again. If you're jealous of something, it's telling you something you need to know about yourself. If you're angry, you're learning about yourself. Why are you angry? And can that anger motivate and fuel and be an ember for personal growth and change? It's so risky to be like, oh, well, you're beautiful on the inside. Well, what does that mean? I want to be wild on the inside. I want to be real on the inside. I want to be raw on the inside. I want to be ugly on the inside sometimes too, and that to be okay.
And that's such a power. Like working with hell, there's an emphasis on the ugliness. Because even that word is just so loaded. And it's almost like a reclamation kind of thing when you use it, or when I use it. Because again, it's a dichotomy thing. It's thinking of it as a black and white, like you are pretty or you are ugly, and you can never be both.
Or they can, even the two concepts can't exist within one another. You
right.
can't have ugliness within beauty and beauty within ugliness, and somewhere in the middle. Mush.
Yeah.
Nature's red in tooth and claw. That's a bit going back to the wolf thing, Asbjorn.
I'm okay with the wolf thing.
Tooth and claw. I want to be wild. That's what I would rather be. I would rather be in that edge space. I'd rather be all things and everything and nothing.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions? Because we are overrunning now. Questions. Quid pro quos.
Cigars, Tipperillos.
Soul nuggets. Coffee.
Or what did they say? There was something about a Philly cheesecake earlier, like a flux cake, a flux cheesecake. I don't know. Oh. They were like, They were making our menu for us, Joey, for the Flux Cafe.
The sun is beautiful, yet is a ball of fire that destroys much as beyond, hence the subjectivity.
Yeah, light can burn and blind. All I have is this like horrible horrorcore song from when I was a teenager going through my head, and the line is one man's trash is another man's lover, death becomes her. It's a necrophilia joke. But one man's trash is another man's lover. That like beauty essentially is why that came into my head, is because it's like it's completely subjective.
Yeah. Getting Edgy with Joey. That's the title of my autobiography. Coming soon in 2012. No, we're gone beyond 2012. I'm going back into the past and rewriting it.
Yeah.
Flux thinking. Wow, wow, wow.
We're going down the spiral.
Yeah. The descent into madness. I talked about the terminology of descent into madness in the Persephone video, if anyone's interested.
You did. I liked that video. I watched it right before this.
Descent,
all right, guys. Any other questions? Last call.
Last call for questions. Ask about balls, boobs, or soul nuggets. Go, go, go.
Anything you want.
Anything you want. Anything you want, honey.
I got it.
I don't. I'm quite happy it is
I
the
do
time
not.
it is.
Yeah. And I definitely don't wish it was 2015.
Yep. I'm quite happy. I will be much happier in July.
Soon, soon.
Soon, soon.
Yeah.
I'm glad you like the
Persephone vid was a very good one.
I had such a problem with it because I was like, I could talk about the Persephone Demeter thing for hours. So I was like, I must limit myself to 25 minutes.
I also think that you did a really good job on the pillar looking like a pomegranate color.
Mm-hmm.
It's like perfect.
Mm-hmm. It took me a while to get that shade of pomegranate. Also, the scent of the anointing oils, which I can't properly express on video, but oh my God, they're so good.
Madam Luna delicately says, so when's the old people chat happening?
What day are we on? When are you free next?
Oh, God.
Monday? Tuesday?
Hold on. Well, we've got a thing for next Thursday. Do we want to talk about that?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, where's it going to be? Here?
I don't know. Talk about it and we'll feel what feels right.
All right. So next Thursday, the two of us will also be talking with Kellyanne. So we don't know where it's going to be, though. Yeah. What?
I'm like, I was going to say, well, do we want to do it here? And then I was like, but I don't want to be a bitch about it.
Right. Well, that's why I didn't know who that is, but I know, like...
We can toss a coin if you like.
Yeah, because I wasn't in on that conversation when that happened. So
yes, so basically I approached Kellyanne Maddox and asked if she would be interested in talking with us because she said she enjoyed hearing me and Chris talk.
Okay. And
I was like, Kellyanne, would you like to come on the channel and talk to us because we think you're great and we both love you and please. So Kellyanne,
we like you, come be our friend.
So I'm not saying we crazy creepy stalked Kellyanne or anything, but we did. And
I mean, respectfully crazy creepy stalked. Is that
fangirled? So
all right,
I'm kind of hoping Kellyanne is
remarkable. She's an amazing brain. I would definitely lick her brain. Now she won't talk to us after I said that.
I'll definitely lick her brain too. Let's say that now so it's not in the chat next week. She's one of my favorite YouTubers. I think she's a shit to such a degree. It becomes an art form rather than just craft. So there's that.
And I think she's probably one of my most referenced YouTubers when I'm talking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, she's probably one of the ones I use the most.
Yeah. So when else are you free, Cris, next week? If we're doing this album discussion.
I won't know next week's schedule until Saturday or Sunday. But okay. I know that I have that Thursday off, but we've got that going on. Mondays. I have Monday.
Monday? We'll do Monday on your channel? Monday,
yeah,
same time?
Yeah, Monday on mine.
Okay. Yeah, Molly's amazing.
Yeah.
And Avalon's amazing.
And Avalon is great. Yeah, I was going to say Molly is another one that like I reference a lot. Avalon, Joanna DeVoe, I reference a lot.
I reference Joanna DeVoe loads.
Joanna's been like my YouTube like virtual best friend cheerleader person ever since I started. Like she found me and was just like, yes, Cris, yes. I'm just like, yay.
I love her.
So,
I think she's unique.
I love her
perspective. Okay, so Monday, same time. Cris is half of the channel.
Monday, same goth time, different wolf channel.
Oh, same flux time, different goth channel.
Yes. Yeah. And I will like make it ahead of time and make it an event on my page. For those of you who don't know, look up Cris Ashburn Midwifery for the Soul on Facebook and you'll find me. Also, there's like links down below.
We will set up the Flux Cafe as well. I've been completely exhausted today. Otherwise, I would have addressed doing that.
And I've been working and stuff, so I didn't get to either. But yeah, we can do that.
It will be 3 p.m. British Summer Time, which is 10 p.m. Are you Central Time?
Yes.
It's
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Central Time.
10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Okay.
Because I'm Eastern.
Okay.
Yes. So it'd be 9 on Central Time.
Okay. So Cris is going to link it all anyway, and she does a better job than me.
I got it.
I was like, oh, I think I linked the wrong time, and brains. No.
It's all right. Joey is having a very, very fluxy, very out of it day. So yeah, a few days.
Joey will be better in July. Trust me.
So yeah, Sweet Susie will be Monday, this coming Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, on my channel, which is down below. And then the Kellyanne one will be at, was it 8 a.m. our time? Yeah, I believe it was 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time as well. I don't know the other ones right now.
The ones we haven't decided yet.
And we don't know where. And shit.
We'll toss a coin.
Pretty much. Anyway. Yeah. So that'll be over there. And also, again, I'll say, like, go check out my One Blood video. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Oh, we can do better than that. Cris has got this amazing video. Cris has started her voice work, which is important to her spirituality and her spiritual openingness, spiritual path walking. It's about, what's it called? One Blood? Is that correct? Is that the title?
What? One Blood, yes.
One Blood. And it's about inclusion and the half castes and the half bloods and all that.
The unknown bloods.
And putting that aside and showing that we are all interconnected, which has kind of come up a bit in this video as well. Yeah. It's amazing. Go watch it immediately.
Something I will share about it that I didn't share on the video, I just kind of put it out there and dropped the mic on it, was that it's a channeled thing. I was dealing with my native blood in the side of that and looking as white as I am and not being accepted in that sense. And it kind of came from that, the fact that I was mourning the elders that I never got to know and that I felt like a piece of me was left or was gone. And it kind of started from there, and then I got into this space and I started getting this message and I just started writing, and I wrote the whole thing within like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Like, it wasn't very long. It was just out and done. And the ancestors were with me when I wrote that. So if you hear it and you hear, like, because a lot of people have said the word power in the comments, which I am like, thank you so much. But it's them. That's why they were around me for it. So it's not just a message from me It's a message from them saying, you know, like, we're still with you. So that's what I got.
Cris also has some incredibly amazing courses that you can check out if you didn't know already. The Ancestor one is top notch. And it helped me with my ancestor journey, in which you guys can check out here on my channel. There's quite a few different videos all about the underworld and the other world and the wombs of our mothers, which is a big thing with me right now. That's also on my blog, which is linked. Oh, it might not be linked down below. If it's not, no, it's not. It normally is, but I forgot it. So it's blog.starryeyedsupplies.co.uk, and you can read, if you prefer to read blog posts or poetry posts about spirituality on there. And as always, you can hop on over to starryeyedsupplies.co.uk for any witchcraft supplies you feel the need for. And if I don't have it, you can custom request it.
That is true. She's made custom. I have a custom oil here and a full set. This candle is also a custom that she'd made for me for my mentoring sessions, which I also offer on my website, which is down below. In which you have full access to like over 20 years of my experience, any practices I do, anything like that. So it's coaching, it's journey work, being led on that, energy work, help with spell casting, whatever you want, basically.
I can also direct you because we stole his catchphrase earlier that
yes.
Asbjorn Torvald also does mentoring. He also has 2 books out all about the Nordic shamanic magic, which is really interesting, as well as the first book is Magic is All in Your Head, which is about perception, which is what we have been talking about today.
Yeah.
And you can find him on Facebook primarily.
And he also does readings as well. He does tarot and runes.
Tarot and runes. So if you want some of that good stuff, you can go over and speak to Asbjorn, and he will sort you right out. He's very good.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair, seeing as we have said his catchphrase throughout this entire show.
Yeah, sing his catchphrase. Yeah, so he has some amazing work. He's someone else that I trust and recommend. So,
yeah.
Right.
All right.
I think we're about on the tail end of this.
Yes.
So I'm going to introduce my new catchphrase, which is "See you on the flux side."
Oh. Can I say flux that? Flux that. Flux it. I can't be bothered.
So I'll see you on the flux side. Wink. Also balls. Anyway.
And boobs.
And balls and boobs and butts.
This has been an in-depth conversation with Joey and Cris.
And we need to finish it talking about boobs and butts and boobs
and
butts and boobs and
butts.
It's
about balance.
Remember, be balanced.
Feeding all the wolves.
Be balanced. Feed all your wolves. Love yourself. And take care. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We will be back on Monday to talk on Chris's channel to talk about elders and the role of elders in a society versus how elders and spirituality used to be, still kind of are in some spiritual traditions, treated versus how they are in mainstream society. Much love to you all. See you on the flux side.
Bye.
Bye.